The title of my speech is School Uniforms. The school uniform policy is a controversial issue. Some people, including the school board, claim that school uniform policy would help reduce conflict over clothes, will stop children from wearing inappropriate sayings on it, and will stop disciplinary incidents connected with clothes. On the other hand, school uniforms are not a cure for school ills, but take away from our children's freedom of expression, their individuality. I feel that school uniforms should just have a strict policy about what kids should wear and not make them conform to wearing uniforms. So my stand is against uniform policy. I would like to start off by giving you some information about why the school board is for the uniform policy. First, they say that it helps reduce conflict over clothes and will stop children from wearing inappropriate sayings on it and will stop disciplinary incident connected with clothes. According to Edwin, the Long Beach, California Unified School District was one of the first school districts to come up with a uniform policy in 1994. Officials from Long Beach claimed that violence and disciplinary problems dropped dramatically after implementing the uniform requirements. After the success of Long Beach School District, school uniforms have been mandated in many school districts to help reduce violence, especially gang violence. There are some valid points. These are some valid points. But I still feel like school uniforms take away from the children's freedom of expression. Our children should not be made to wear school uniform because it stifles their freedom of expression. For decades, children in public schools have been showing their creative expression through the clothes that they wear, in which help build their personality and character. Students' free speech rights are living rights, not simply rights to be taught in civics, but disregarded in the hallways. According to Kent, school uniform policy erodes students' rights of expression. Mandating school uniforms is going against our students' First Amendment right to freedom of speech. It's violated and students' self-expression through the way they dress is conformed to wearing uniforms. This matter, however, may seem trivial to some, but then again, should any loss of basic personal freedom be considered trivial? I think not. It is insufficient that some may be disturbed by others' choices to be different as long as their choice meets common standards of decency and poses no threat to the safety and well-being of the community. According to Darwin, the First Amendment is involved at all. The reason the First Amendment is involved at all is that clothing is a form of expression, and as such, it is subset of the free speech clause. Mandating school uniform has not been enforced yet because it is considered to be going against our First Amendment rights. That is why many school districts make the policy voluntarily. Most parents does not know that their children's uniform policy is only voluntary, and they can opt out. King states that school districts does not adequately inform parents about their rights to request exemption from the program. A uniform also takes away from a student's individuality. And a very important, underrated part of high school is the development of students' personality. People who oppose school uniforms assert that how a person dresses is a kind of self-expression, and that the state is the form of the public school system cannot legally tell students what to wear. According to critics, as policy pointed out, public schools are opposed to be teaching democracy. Uniforms are antithetical to teaching people how to make choices. Forcing a student to conform to a uniform mandated from high above will stunt part of a student's growth. According to King, some individuals feel that mandatory school uniforms may teach students a negative lesson about conformity. Some believe that students should base life choices on their own internal values, rather than on rules and regulations set for them, and that this is vitally important to their future health and discipline. Our children need to learn power of being responsible and how to make good decisions, and how they could do this is by dressing alike. They can't, according to Carroll. If young people are to understand that the cornerstone of our freedom is the primacy of the individual government, over the collective, over non-voluntary association, then sticking them all into look-alike clothes is a poor way to teach the values of freedom, and responsibility is to let youngsters experience freedom in the process to learn to act responsible. Schools should just have a strict policy about what kids should wear and not make them conform to wearing uniforms. They should just forbid pieces of clothing. For example, revealing blouses, dropping pants, and clothing with words strategically placed on the buttocks. According to Darwin, it is far simpler to forbid a piece of clothing if legitimate reasons exist, such as health and safety, gang prevention, or maintaining orderly learning environment. They should also come up with a policy about gang-related clothing. By allowing students to wear regular clothes, school officials are better apt to pick out students that may be involved in gang-related activities, thus giving officials the upper hand in catching members of gangs. On the other hand, if all the students are in school uniforms, it will be hard to distinguish who is in a gang, who is not in a gang. According to Wilson, many school administrations have turned to dress codes as a way to curb violence in the schools. Many dress codes now restrict wearing of gang clothing or gang symbols in public schools. Schools officials should use zero tolerance when students violate dress codes. What I mean is that they should not allow students to get away with any type of gang play at the school, that is whether wearing clothes with gang clothing or gang symbols, so that it would not make it bad for all the other students that are not in gangs but want to wear their own clothes. Usually one bad apple spoils the bunch. That is why they should come up with a strict policy to weed out the ones that do not want to follow the rules. According to Esses, most zero-tolerance discipline policies in schools have been aimed at deterring serious student offenses involving possession of firearms and other weapons, drugs, tobacco, and alcohol. The school board and the court system, I feel our children should not be made to wear school uniforms because of the anti-individuality message it sends and the infringement on students' rights. I feel that the schools should not just have a strict policy about what kids should wear, but about what kids should not wear them to conform to wearing uniforms. And here I have a uniform that the elementary students are to wear. A white shirt and a navy blue pants or skirt. And you know, when you have elementary kids wearing white shirts, they're always getting dirty and dingy. Parents always constantly have to buy new shirts. Every time you look around, they might have to wear another shirt. Parents are buying shirts. Parents can't afford to buy uniforms and clothes. So that's why my speech is to help parents to have a voice so they won't have to conform to wearing uniforms.